The next stitch we're going to do is the 2-thread rolled hem. The 2-thread rolled hem is sewn with 2 threads, your right needle, which is the green, and the yellow one, which is your lower looper. To set up for sewing the 2-thread rolled hem, first I'm going to open up the looper cover. I'm going to raise the presser foot lifter, and to make it easier to see, I'm going to just temporarily roll my movable knife out of the way. To convert the upper looper for 2-thread sewing, we're going to use this little tool called a spreader. This you would find in your removable storage compartment where your accessories are stored. There's a diagram here that shows you how it fits on the upper looper, but let me show you how that works. On the back side, there's this little round section that fits right into the hole on this part of the upper looper, and then you're going to just lightly press it with your thumb, bring it around the back side, and let that little extension, or that little end of it, fit into the hole of the upper looper. Now you've converted your upper looper for 2-thread sewing, and we can start threading the machine. We're going to start by threading the lower looper. I'm going to bring my thread up into the thread guide up here from back to front. Bring it into this thread guide at the top of the machine. Hold the thread lightly with your fingers in your left hand. Put a little bit of tension on it as you bring the thread down. Make sure it goes into the tension discs. You might even floss it a little bit to make sure it goes in. Tuck the thread behind this thread guide. We're going to go from right to left into the first yellow dotted thread path marking, into this one from bottom to top, into the next one from bottom to top, and then over here from bottom up, and then we're going to place the thread into the slot at the end of the lower looper. To do that, slip your thread behind the lower looper, put a little tension on this thread with your left hand, use your tweezer to slide it over until it drops into place. And then all we have left to do is just thread the eye of the lower looper. After threading the eye of the lower looper, we need to bring the thread to the back of the machine. It'll be a little easier if we turn the hand wheel, get that upper looper down a little bit, and then just use your tweezer to grab your lower looper thread and pull it to the back, making sure that it is under the presser foot over the needle plate. Now we're ready to thread the needle. Next, we're going to thread our right needle thread, which is our green. Bring the thread up through the top from back to front. Snap it into the thread guide at the top of the machine. Hold the thread with your left hand with a little bit of tension as you bring it into the tension discs. Make sure it's in there. Bring it around this first thread guide, around this next thread guide, over the top where the green dot is, and then we're going to thread this thread guide just above the needle, and now thread the needle. Trim the end of the thread if you need to, make it a little easier to thread. Thread the eye of your needle. Use your tweezer if you need to grab the end of it in the back. Pull the thread through and place it underneath the presser foot along with the lower looper thread. We need to adjust the position of the lower cutting blade for rolled hemming. To do this, we're going to use the stitch width knob and turn it so the left edge of this section here is lined up with the R on the needle plate. For rolled hem sewing, it's necessary to reduce the width of the stitch finger. You do this by taking this lever here, the stitch finger lever, and bring it forward or toward you, which will reduce the width of the stitch finger. Let's bring our movable knife back into its original cutting position. Close the looper cover. And for rolled hem sewing, we adjust the stitch length dial, which is this dial right here on the side of your machine. When we turn it to a shorter number, the stitches are closer together. For rolled hem sewing, you can put it somewhere between F and 2, depending on the look you want for your rolled hem. Let's start out somewhere in between fine and 2, and we can adjust if we like. Lastly, we need to adjust our tension settings. Our manual suggests a setting of 0.5 for our needle thread and 6 for our lower looper. We can give that a try and then adjust as necessary. So let's try out our 2-thread hem. You'll actually see that the lower looper appears on the top side and the needle thread appears on the back side. If we want the hem to actually roll around the edge of the fabric, we can come up to the tension dials and turn the needle thread up and let's see how that looks. By turning up that needle tension, which was on the bottom side of our fabric, it helped wrap the lower looper thread around to the back side, giving us more of a rolled edge. So here we have a narrow hem with 2 threads or a rolled hem with 2 threads. You can do it either way. The choice is yours. If the look you want for your project is to have your stitches be closer together instead of seeing a little bit of fabric between the stitches like on my samples here, you can shorten your stitch length just a little bit. But the other thing you can do is use a texturized nylon thread instead of regular serger thread. This thread, when you hold it taut, looks like regular thread, but when it is relaxed, it almost looks a little bit fluffy. But that will help fill in some of the area between the stitches so you get a more solid filled in look for projects like napkins and scarves and things like that.